Now, if you're in any way like me or most people around the world, when you see what is currently going on in America, you're kind of thinking a couple of things. One is what the is going on in America, but two, you also feel the pain and the heartbreak of the people who are being attacked and literally murdered by Trump's goons, known as ICE, or the term that I prefer to use is the Gestapo, because they just seem to be going around acting with immunity of like no real consequences for their violent and disgusting behaviour that are leaving the rest of us stunned and horrified, all under the guise of a convicted literal pedophile who will do anything other than just release the goddamn Epstein files fully, because we know he's on them. We know you are, Donald. Sorry to break it to you. Now, if it seems like I'm kind of angry about it, it's because I am. This is a threat to democracy. Trump is ignoring his own constitution. But thankfully, there is a response from the American people, which is very encouraging. There's loads of anti-ICE demonstrations happening across the US with mass rallies and vigils and local strikes being organised in response to ICE's enforcement operations and fatal shootings, which I'll get to, by federal agents. They're also planning protests in over 300 cities across America, with protesters also holding nationwide strikes against Trump's immigration policies. So in case you didn't know, ICE is basically the US Immigration and Customs Enforcement under Trump, which have become best known for literally killing American civilians, detaining thousands of people with no legal basis or justification, holding them in small holding rooms for weeks or days. These motherfuckers are literally waiting like outside immigration courts to immediately arrest people and detain them after their hearings, punishing people who are literally following the law. They're totally ignoring the fact that in America, illegal immigrants actually do have rights, which is known as due process, in case you didn't know, which basically means that undocumented immigrants have the right to fair procedures before being detained or removed from the country. But ICE is purposely arresting them and fast-tracking it and transferring them either to detention centres in the US or deporting them out of the country before they can even see a lawyer. And they're also like forcing them to sign or pressuring them to sign forms known as voluntary departure forms when they don't even understand what they're signing. As well as like detaining children and like separating them from their parents. It's quite disgusting behaviour. In fact, they're doing so many up things I can't even keep up. Like, it's constant. It's exhausting trying to keep up with it. And if I was to try to talk to you about every single thing they've done, the video would be too long, and by the time this video uploads, there'll be more stuff. Like, we all collectively in America and the rest of the world are seeing the footage that's coming out, and we're horrified at how aggressive, authoritarian, and the fact that they can just hide behind their mask to literally just kind of do whatever they want. Like, it's a terrifying time to be an American, whether you're an illegal immigrant or not, it seems. They recently detained a Latino US citizen based on appearance alone.
You know what, sir? Now, talking to you, hearing that you have an accent, I have reason to believe that you are not born of this country.
So you just made an accent?
What country are you from?
There's also the fact that they've used tear gas, flashbang grenades, and aimed firearms at bystanders and protesters in LA who are just responding to the deplorable behaviour of ICE, which is their First Amendment right. Like, there's endless clips of ICE approaching people they do not deem look American enough, demanding ID and detaining them. And there's so many examples of, like, for example, one 5-year-old and his father were returning from school were detained, and a judge actually thankfully blocked their deportations because they were like literally ignoring the asylum claims process. Neighbours actually claimed that ICE tried to use the 5-year-old kid to lure the mother out who was in the house, which of course ICE deny. Even since then, 2 more kids from that same school have been detained because the mother, who is actually has a pending asylum case going on, that doesn't seem to matter. And the family have been transferred to a Texas detention facility, according to that school. In 2025 alone, at least 32 people have died in ICE custody. Many ICE facilities across the country have faced allegations from human rights groups, immigration lawyers, and lawmakers about overcrowding, poor conditions, with rotten food, which, you know, ICE deny, unsurprisingly. You know, a memo went around recently of, you know, the fact that they can now use administrative warrants, which are signed by agency officials and not by judges, which is not normal, with legal experts accurately arguing that it's like against the 4th Amendment. And even the other week, ICE literally tried to enter the Ecuador consulate in Minneapolis, which literally is breaking international laws because each individual consulate is seen as the sovereign state of the country they're from. So ICE should not be going in there, but Trump doesn't seem to care, nor do ICE. But things have ramped up since December, particularly because Trump decided to send federal agents to Minneapolis, the largest in a heavily Democratic-led city, which is a kind of a pattern with Trump where he's sending these agents to mostly Democratic cities like Los Angeles, Washington, Chicago. And during December in particular, ICE carried out several raids and made several arrests in Minneapolis alone. And this all happened because, evidently, the governor of Minneapolis is Tim Walz. If you don't know who Tim Walz is, Tim Walz was the vice president running with Kamala Harris in the 2024 election. Now, of course, ICE's behavior in their state has brought massive amounts of protests in response, which has increased a lot of violence between both ICE and protesters alike. But ICE began crossing a line that can never really be undone, as well as the immigration officers with them. 2 people were executed by ICE agents and border agents in the last couple of weeks alone in Minneapolis. ICE agent Jonathan Ross shot and killed a woman by the name of Renee Nicole Good, who I want to make sure you understand is an American citizen. Good, who was parked in a car, was ordered out by ICE agents. She instead decided to reverse and pull away towards the traffic, and the ICE agent known as Jonathan Ross decided to shoot her 3 times, executing her and murdering her in cold blood, claiming that Renee was trying to hit her with the car, although the footage of course disputes this, because you can see that she's trying to pull away from him. She's nowhere near going to hit him. Like, he literally murdered her. The ICE agent is apparently in hospital recovering from the trauma. What trauma is he recovering from? Like, is his finger sore from pulling the trigger too much? Like, the level of gaslighting here is insane. Trump actually endorsed JD Vance's, the vice president's claim that, of course, is baseless, that she was part of a shadowy left-wing network, trying to incite violence against federal agents, which again, no evidence of that whatsoever, all absolute bullshit. The second incident, which we all probably know collectively around the world, of course, is of Alex Preddy, who is the 37-year-old ICU nurse who was shot and killed by 2 federal agents during an encounter in Minneapolis related to the enforcement operation going on there. Now, Preddy, who was at the protest, literally jumped in to help a woman who was being attacked by an agent, and in his attempt to try and help her, he in turn was also sprayed in the face with pepper spray. You can see in the footage the woman falls over. He also falls over. He tries to get to the woman to help her up. He then gets surrounded by agents who begin to attack him. Now, at this point, they see that he has a concealed weapon in his waistband, which he was not going for, nor was he ever going for, which he had a legal right to own. They then remove the gun. 3 seconds later, after the gun is removed, he is executed with 10 rounds shot into him. Dead. And the most sickening thing about this, besides his unjustified murder, is how Trump responded, how the administration responded.
This looks like a situation where an individual arrived at this scene to inflict maximum damage on individuals and to kill law enforcement.
Claiming that he shouldn't have brought a gun, that he was there to incite violence on these agents. Again, no proof of that, clearly bullshit. I think one of the most hypocritical things is the conservative response to this, because a lot of them are saying, well, why did he bring a gun? Like, all the don't tread on me guys, he shouldn't have brought a gun to a protest. But I just want to remind you all of Kyle Rittenhouse, who brought an AR-15 to a protest. And he actually killed 2 people and injured another, which he claimed was self-defense. And he was acquitted of it, of course. But at that time, you know, the conservative narrative was like, well, he has every right to have a gun. That's our right as citizens of this country. But now all of a sudden, when Alex Preddy, because he is not a conservative Republican, the argument is, well, he shouldn't have brought a gun. Why did he bring a gun? So which is it? Are you allowed to have a gun or not? You know, and in this case, his gun was concealed. He had a license for it, totally legal in the state that he was in. You see in the footage, he does not go for said gun. The gun is literally removed from him, and then he is executed. So that argument is literally pointless, hypocritical, and makes absolutely no sense. And then, if that's not bad enough, they're also going after their First Amendment rights of free speech. And we're seeing literal journalists being arrested. Like, for example, literally this week, the other day as recording this, Don Lemon, who is a former journalist with CNN, was arrested after his reporting at a protest that was going on January 18th at City's Church in St. Paul, Minnesota, with federal agents alleging that his action violated laws protecting the rights of worships and interfered with civil rights. Paul Bondi, who, you know, is the US Attorney General, approved the prosecution after multiple judges actually declined to sign arrest warrants because there's no evidence to actually sign it. So, you know, this is clearly an attempt from the Trump administration to silence people who are like willing to bravely report on what is going on, which is a right they have to do. But yet we're seeing an administration that just thinks they can arrest people who they do not agree with, who are speaking the truth and highlighting the horrific acts that are currently going on under Trump's administration. Bondi also actually sent a letter to Tim Walz urging cooperation with the federal immigration enforcement that are there, including wanting him to share state data, like repeal policies and provide access to the voter polls. My heart breaks for everyone who has been affected by ICE. My heart breaks for America. My heart breaks for the people who have died, good, innocent people, for people who just went to a country because they wanted a new life, because they were escaping some other sort of disgusting authoritarian regime, just to land in a country where another disgusting authoritarian regime seems to be growing more powerful and powerful by the day. And I know a lot of people will say to me, well, you're not American, why don't you mind your own business? Because every time I even mention anything to do with America, a lot of people say this. And the thing is, I have a right to my opinion, but also what happens in America does affect the rest of the world. And all I can say is that I would urge anyone in America who does not like Trump, who wants change, to go out into the streets to protest peacefully, to boycott, to, if you can, to go on strike if you can, and stop this tyranny from continuing, and also demand to see these Epstein files. Because we all know Trump is on those files, and he was willing to do anything. He's trying to go to a war with Iran, he's invading Venezuela, he's like, it's insanity. It's insanity, and it has to end somehow. And the best thing you guys can do is get out on the streets and protest. But that's it, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe as always if you enjoyed the video. And let me know what you think in the comments down below, of course. If you're in America, how do you feel about currently what is going on? I'd love to hear your thoughts from both sides of the coin. And I'd like there to be a healthy debate. But that's it, guys. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Peace out.